Hi all. For my final project, I chose to to research vocabulary through morphological instruction. So we will start today with looking at morphology and what it is. So morphology is a study of morphemes, which are the smallest meaningful parts of words. These include the root or base words, Greek and Latin roots, and affixes, prefixes, and suffixes. So, as we have learned, both the simple view of reading and the Scarborough's rope model both indicate that they name two components of reading ability: word reading and language comprehension. Since vocabulary is part of language comprehension and morphemes are the smallest meaningful parts of words, morphemes are an important component of language comprehension. So, to look at how morphological instruction enhances vocabulary and comprehension, we will take a look at the research, what the literature suggests about it. So, Kiefer and Lisau, their research is entitled Breaking Down Words to Build Meaning, Morphology, Vocabulary, and Reading Comprehension in the Urban Classroom. What they found is since the National Reading Panel in 2000, since they're finding on vocabulary instruction and reading comprehension, there has been a growing emphasis on the study of morphemes. A definite growing emphasis in the literature, although there's still needs to be more research done. But the growing emphasis is on the study of morphemes and their effectiveness for helping students learn vocabulary words and their meaning. The increase in difficulty in content area text and vocabulary from fourth grade on caused many students to struggle with comprehension. The researchers found that vocabulary and reading comprehension have a reciprocal relationship, and this is for both native English speakers and English language learners as well. So their study findings showed that morphology positively impacted reading comprehension for both fourth and fifth grade students, and it grew increasingly impactful in the upper grades. So from fifth grade on, as they students went up in grades, it grew increasingly impactful for each grade that it moved up. As the impact of morphology grew from fourth to fifth grade, students' morphology skills in fifth grade were a better predictor of reading comprehension than their vocabulary level was. And again, this proved the same for both native English speakers and English language learners. So once they hit fifth grade, they found that actually then the morphology skills were the better predictor of reading comprehension than even their vocabulary level was. So the researchers then concluded that morphology should be taught within a comprehensive vocabulary program, but it should be also a separate part of that program. So the next study that I looked at was the Latin-Greek connection, building vocabulary through morphological study by Rosinsky, Paddock, Newton, and Newton. So basically what they found is that many English vocabulary words and English academic vocabulary words have their roots in Latin and Greek, as do Spanish, French, Italian, and other Romance languages. Therefore, the study of morphology is very helpful for looking at, studying vocabulary in English as well in some of the other languages, and especially also when we look at or use cognates. Then the research by Reed of 2008, A Synthesis of Morphology, Interventions, and Effects on Reading Outcomes for Students in Grades K through 12. They looked at a number of studies, and they found that those studies suggest that there is a relation between morphological awareness and general spelling ability in children as young as 6 years old. Reed also emphasizes that morphological instruction could be particularly helpful for students with dyslexia, as they often struggle with spelling. So because that is something that it can be difficult for them, the study of morphology and breaking down the words and the word parts could help them with the spelling and gain some strength in that. So it could be particularly helpful for them. According to Reed's synthesis of the research, both correlation and intervention studies indicate then that morphology can have a positive impact on students' word identification, spelling, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. So it looks to be helpful in a number of areas. Next, I looked at research by Deacon, Francis, and Tong. This was published in 2017, The Relationship of Morphological Analysis and Morphological Decoding to Reading Comprehension. So in their research, they cite the research of Nunes, Bryant, and Barrows from 2012, which showed that children's ability to decode morphologically complex words at 8 years of age was linked to their reading comprehension at age 12, 4 years later. They found that research involving students in grades 3 and 5 both show that morphological decoding and analysis are each uniquely beneficial to reading comprehension. So they found that children's ability to use morphemes to read and to understand words both play an important role in reading comprehension. So they were looking at morphological decoding and morphological analysis and found that they were both uniquely beneficial to reading comprehension. These researchers suggest that it might be helpful for students to not only identify morphemes within complex words, but also analyze how those morphemes impact the word's pronunciation and meaning, both of those. So, and then they found that morphology benefits reading comprehension by its role in both decoding and making meaning out of words. So, approach, description, and description of the students. So the approach I looked at is entitled Vocabulary Through Morphemes, Suffixes, Prefixes, and Roots for Intermediate and Secondary Grades. Second edition by Susan M. Ebers. And this is published by Cambium Learning Group. Part of Voyager Sopris. So this curriculum is designed for teaching morphological analysis to students at the middle and high school levels. It includes both a teacher's guide and a student workbook, and it focuses instruction on the most common prefixes, suffixes, and roots of Greek, Latin, French, and Anglo-Saxon and Germanic languages. Also, many of the vocabulary words are from the Academic Word List by Coxhead in 2000. So Vocabulary Through Morphemes was designed to help students engage in metacognition and develop word consciousness as they focus on the meaning of words, also to engage them in practicing the outside-in strategy of using context clues and morpheme clues to determine a word's meaning, and then to help students improve their spelling, vocabulary, academic language, and comprehension skills. More information regarding vocabulary through morphemes can be found at the author's website that I have listed here on this screen and through Voyager Sopris. And I have their website listed. So, application and recommendations for implementation. Here I do have one example of a page from the student book. So the recommendation is for a daily lesson throughout the academic year. That would really be the best. The suggested method would be to teach one daily lesson throughout an academic year for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Sorry about that. And then provide a practice page the following day as a warm-up. The suggested order of instruction would be first to cover the history of the English language, and they've got a really nice history of that at the beginning, then suffixes, prefixes, and roots. So the objective for this is not for students to memorize the morphemes, but to use higher level thinking skills of analysis and metacognition. It could be used for reading intervention classes, but it could also easily be used for whole class instruction. Included also in the book are games and activities aimed to engage students in having fun while learning morphemes. So that's really what the goal is, the end goal. So if this is used though during summer school or in an after-school program, the suggested method is to teach the curriculum for 40 minutes per day, teach 2 or 3 lessons each day, but a shortened version of each lesson. Teach the prefixes and roots and skip most of the suffixes. However, if the grammar skills of the students are weak, then the suffixes should be taught as well. And then incorporate many different opportunities to practice and apply the morphemes in different contexts after each lesson, as well as using the practice pages, games, and activities, and the readings and assessments that are provided. So for assessment of placement and progress, for the assessment of placement, there are definitional assessments in the book to determine placement. So there really isn't an initial one, but those could be used for an initial assessment of placement in the teacher's guide. And then there is also a final assessment at the end of the book. That could also be used at the beginning as a pre-program assessment to determine the student's knowledge and understanding of morphemes. And then the same assessments can be used also after a student completes each section. And then there are formative assessments in addition included throughout the book and on practice pages. So I looked at this because our school has been wanting to implement a whole school vocabulary. We did implement it, but we still have more to do on this. And morphemes is something, morphological instruction, that I want to hone my skills at. So I'd like to do more. I'm hoping to do more research, or planning to do more in this area. So my references are here, and I will, also include the handout, and this has been very interesting for me. There's still research to be done in this area. I find that very exciting. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please do feel free to contact me. Thank you.